How do you develop emotional intelligence? Well, I think there's multiple different ways, but one technique that I found to be effective is the power of subjectivity. The ability to go about the day and view things objective in nature. For instance, if, let's say, you break a kneecap, just a random situation, you break your knee. In nature doesn't care. In the natural world, the order of how the flow of Mother Nature and like what happens, they don't care. Nature is objective to the personal subjective feeling that is associated with breaking a kneecap. For instance, if, let's say, an animal out in the wild is getting eaten, like a little mouse, it's hopping along, it's going scurrying through the woods, and then randomly a hawk comes down and eats it, all the animals in that forest, in that ecosystem, aren't crying and sad that the mouse had just been eaten. Even the family of the mouse, I guess we don't really 100% know, but it's not like they're throwing a funeral and sobbing and weeping and mourning for their loved ones. I mean, they very well could be. Like, we're not inside their heads. We don't feel their emotions. But Mother Nature as a whole, there's a system to it. There's an order. There's like this food chain, hierarchy to it. And it's just the cycle of life. Like Lion King, for instance, like Simba is sitting there with Mufasa, and Mufasa's looking over the lands, and he's saying that, oh, that's just the order of life, the circle of life, all that stuff. It is the way that it is, because if it isn't that way, then life doesn't continue on. And to bring it back to our personal lives with our day-to-day routines in this modern world, we can take that same perspective, that insight from Mother Nature, to apply it to our own practical realities. When we go about our day and we accidentally spill our coffee on the ground and get all upset, maybe we should remind ourselves that in the natural world, it's just cause and effect. If we view things objectively, there's always a cause, there's always an effect. Things just happen. They are the way that they are because that's how we view it. And then it isn't until we place that subjective bias on that experience where we're like, oh shit, yeah, that's a bad experience. Because I got yelled at when I was a child for spilling my milk, I now associate spilling fluids on the ground as a subjectively bad experience. And so I need to try to avoid that now, because I'm fearful, because my parents instilled that negative emotion associated with that experience. But the experience itself, like I said, in the natural world is objective. Things happen. It's cause and effect directly. Same thing with climate change, for instance. Like, we're putting all this CO2 in the air, and we're creating this greenhouse effect where we're keeping in all of these gases that is rising the temperature, the global temperature of our earth. That's a cause and effect. It is caused by us. The effect is nature is orienting and adapting to our cause. And now that's the objective world. That's the natural world. And then to go a step further, it isn't until we have our subjectivity of negativity placed upon that objective experience where we're like, oh, that's a bad thing now. They shouldn't be doing that. Like, and then you get all of these liberals up in arms against the conservatives. And I mean, no, not necessarily. I don't want to label, but like vice versa. We're having this battle between these two groups of people based off of our subjective emotional experience that we have associated those different emotions to, whether it's good or bad. So, again, to go back on emotional intelligence, what is emotional intelligence? It's all about trying to control your emotions. If you're going throughout the day-to-day, it's not freaking out and reacting to situations, but instead having a higher conscious mind to let negative emotions pass through and just ride that wave of heightened intensity and still carrying out the day, staying calm, cool-headed. So when all these negative things that we have associated to be negative happen in our life, instead look at the objectivity of it. Look at that experience just as it is. It's a cause and its effect. That's just the way life is. And we are the ones that have the power of subjectivity to decide whether or not we want that experience to be good or bad. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because that kind of goes to show that anything that happens in our life, we can find reasons to associate positivity to it, whether or not it is positive at first glance from societal's point of view. But if we just observe our direct experience as cause and effect, and then we find different meanings and associations to that experience, we can then formulate a positive subjective experience out of it. And that's kind of like a mental health breakthrough, in my opinion, that we are able to have that control over our minds. And then it kind of puts us in this place where, oh, I can do anything in this world because I know there's going to be something positive to come out of it. I can now do what I want to do. It gives you freedom, individuality, the ability to now go and carry out into the world and express yourself wholeheartedly and not be fearful of these like external extrinsic reasons that have been like associated to like different experiences. And it's not even your own experience, it's just other people's opinions on your own experience. And then you kind of just like morph to this groupthink model where you're like, oh, I don't think I should be doing this right now, or that shit that just happened is fucking awful. But it's like, no, why don't you think for yourself for once? And I don't want to be harsh. But yeah, it's all about, it's not like a forceful hand, like this is the way things should be. It's more about liberation, feeling free, that you can finally live your life and formulate your own thought processes on it. And that anything that happens in our life, we have the power to find good out of. And it goes to show that subjectivity is a choice. Goodness in our life is a choice. And it aligns very much so with law of attraction, which is talking about how if we perceive our life to be good and we have hopeful thinking for goodness in our life, then goodness comes. And I don't think it's necessarily that we're manifesting it, but it's more so that we're now more mindful of goodness. And when good things happen, we're like, oh shit, yeah, that happened. And we're aware of those good things that happen. It's not making it happen more. It's just that we are aware more often than not because of law of attraction. And that's, I guess, if I have a call to action, that's it. If you perceive goodness, if you perceive something beneficial, it's not always happiness either. It's a learning experience. It's something that you can take away from and have the increased sense of wisdom. I think that's the mark we should be aiming towards, is wisdom, not happiness, because it's more open-ended to mostly all experiences that happen to your life, where you can be like, oh, I became more wise because of that experience. You can't always say I was more happy because of that experience. And so the call to action would be, go out into this world and seek wisdom, because that's going to propel you into opportunities that allow you as an individual to get more out of life. And that's my hope for our humanity, is opportunity, well-being, fulfillment. So yeah, that's my rant for the day, and that's it. Go out there and seek wisdom. Peace.